Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very, very much. And today we welcome along a writer, producer, actor, and radio broadcast star, and everything in between, by the name of Harriet Madeley. Did I say that correctly, Harriet?
You did, thank you.
Yeah, and it's a common theme on this show. I always make sure I pronounce people's names correctly because I always do that. Always do that wrong sometimes. Anyway, so let's take a moment to introduce Harriet and her work for anyone who is unfamiliar with her. So Harriet is a writer, producer, and performer for stage, screen, and radio. The Spectator said of her debut play, The Listening Room, "You emerge with your consciousness altered, your conception of human beings elevated and amplified. The Listening Room transferred to the Old Red Line to Stratford East and since been performed at the National, the Lowry, Theatre Clwyd in Wales, I probably said that wrong, Northern Stage, and in prisons and psychiatric institutions across the UK. A radio adaptation was created with BBC Radio 4 and was nominated for an ARIA, which is an Audio, Radio and Industry Awards in 2020. And Harriet's most recent radio drama, The Other Tchaikovsky, was shortlisted for a BBC Audio Drama Award in 2021, and a 90-minute film adaptation is now in development with BBC Two. Her first solo show, Outpatient, which I was lucky enough to see a few weeks ago at the Park, premiered at the Edinburgh Festival last year and won the Summerhall Lustrum Award for Unforgettable Theatre. And she's currently developing a number of projects for stage and screen. She runs her own theatre company called Crowded Room. She was shortlisted for the Oxford Samuel Beckett Theatre Trust Award at the Barbican. Oh, and she's also a graduate of Central School of Speech and Drama as well. I forgot to say that at the beginning as well. So, but that will delay the moment when I say, Harriet, welcome.
Thank you so much. That was so nice.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, well, 15 minutes ago I was asleep.
No, were you?
So I'm really tired, but I'm good.
Okay, I've just woken you up then, haven't I?
Well, no, I mean, I woke myself up. I'm very happy to be here. I've got a 1-year-old, and I'm learning the value of naps for the first time in my life.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and how's being a mum?
It's all right. It's
All right.
amazing. Exhausting, and yeah, as all of the things. Yeah, it's transformative for sure.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Everyone who goes through that says the transformation, but the sleep seems to disappear.
Yeah,
Yeah. God, it's
yeah.
crazy, isn't it? Yeah. All that to look forward to for all of us in the future. So, we start at the beginning, Harriet. So, where did it come from? The love of acting, writing, producing, being in this business. Where did it come from?
Wow. Oh, I don't know. I'm an only child, so maybe I'm just obsessed with getting a lot of attention. But yeah, from the age of like 4 or whatever, I just really desperately wanted to be on stage. I think I wanted to join this kind of local Amdram group, but it was for adults, so I wasn't allowed to join unless my parents joined. So bless them, they joined and would get all these big parts, and I'd be standing there in the background, like, yes, amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I just always did it like at school, university, um, and started out as an actor and then kind of moved into writing a few years later, because I just wanted a bit more control over like the stories I was telling, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And you, of course, I said in the intro, you went to Central as well.
It's yeah.
Yeah. How were those 3 years at Central?
Well, it was just 1 year, and
Oh, okay. Nice.
I loved it, but I wish it had been longer really, because I was 21, kind of went straight out of school to university, did an English degree, and then went straight in to do this master's with all of these, like mostly the people on that course were in their like late 20s, early 30s, and they'd done a lot of professional work already. So I think I felt slightly out of my depth with it. Like I don't know if I had that much confidence yet. And I think Central is an amazing place, but I think drama schools in general are not generally the best places for building up your confidence. So yeah, it wasn't like it was quite kind of mentally challenging, I suppose, but I absolutely loved going there every day. And like I was mostly doing classical acting, so just spent a year like immersed in Shakespeare, and yeah, it was kind of a dream, really.
Nice. Yeah. And which university did you go to?
I went to Oxford,
Oh, nice.
yeah, which is really, really wonderful for theatre. I didn't study theatre, but you do English. Well, most people who do theatre study English or something where you have a bit of time, to be honest, on the side. Um, and you just have all of the, I think happens at a lot of universities, but there was just an amazing kind of group of people who were directing, producing, writing their own work and staging their own plays, and it was just so exciting. It was such a kind of vibrant world to be part of, and I think that's where I kind of decided that I was going to properly give it a go, I guess,
Mm.
because of how much I enjoyed it there specifically, I think.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, it's all part of the process, isn't it? But one thing I'm always curious about is like the difference between people from the day one of drama school to the last day. And, even though yours was only a year, but regardless, it's I did a year's training at GSA. It's an intense year. You're 3 years of dramatic training all sort of clushed into 1 year, and you just walk out of it like, what's going on? But what was the difference between Harriet on day one of Central to Harriet on graduation day of Central?
I think at the start I guess ultimately it was a good thing for my confidence, because the the journey was of being absolutely terrified of getting up in front of like my
Yeah.
peers, to gradually learning to kind of let go of that. I don't know if I completely got there by the end of the year. I kind of wish I could go back to drama school now, because I just think I'd have so much fun. And I think I was really taking it very seriously at the time. So it was like a gradual process of becoming freer, I guess, and becoming less self-conscious and less kind of preoccupied by how I was coming across. I think as soon as you are in that headspace as an actor, your work is just kind of ruined. And I'd say that was the main difference.
Yeah, no, it's always a common theme. We always start in a place of like, what the hell are we doing? And then we sort of grow into this place of like, why were we so afraid at the
Yeah.
beginning? But then again, it's part of the journey, I suppose, which is all in the learning, all in the journey rather than the destination, which is one thing I really enjoy. I know it's a bit of a cliche now, but it's the
Yeah.
journey, not the destination, more than
For
anything.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and enjoy it while we can. So I want to talk about some of the things that you've been involved in, and specifically, I think we arrived very early today at your play Outpatient, which I was very lucky enough to see at the Park back in June of this year, and it was just a brilliant play, and of course written by yourself and directed by Madeline Moore. It was a really, really just very open, very honest, and I might say incredibly brave performance from yourself, and of course writing as well, because it's heavily based off your own story.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking when I was planning for today, just the bravery that you had to share your story and not hold back, and I can't imagine like the response you got from people who from not only just the park, but you also went to Edinburgh, to Reading, to the Lowry with this as well. What made you want to tell your story?
Well, I think I've always been drawn to true stories. That's kind of mostly what I've worked in before. Um, like prior to writing Outpatient, I was mostly doing kind of verbatim or documentary theatre, or at least theatre that involved some real sources. And I guess I noticed really early on that like audiences just listen differently to real stuff, and there's such
Oh yeah.
silence in the room and such electricity. And I loved doing other people's stories. I never really had the intention of doing my own story. And I certainly didn't really think that anything interesting enough had ever happened to me. But then I guess something happened to me that felt not only kind of interesting, but also just like quite neat. It was quite neat as a premise. I can kind of tell you about it in a minute, but
Yeah.
um, yeah. And so I started to think, oh no, like I really should write about that. But it was definitely took me a while to actually sit down and start writing it, because it's very scary to write about your own life. And yeah, but I knew that it was the kind of thing that I guess I could do, and that I hoped that would be kind of well received. And the actual process of doing it was so liberating, really.
Yeah, because it's almost like I can't imagine, like I said just now, like the reactions you got from some people who came to see it. What kind of stories have you heard? Because that must have made you feel really like I'm not on my own here now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's the power of theatre and storytelling, really, isn't it? I mean, I can't imagine like the kind of people that have been in touch with you about this, like across Edinburgh, the Lowry, Reading, of course, where you've taken it. But yeah, I mean, what is it about telling like truthful stories that fascinates you so much?
I probably like immerse myself more in real stuff than I do in fiction. And I guess like I started out kind of mostly working on plays that were about real stories and that used a lot of real people's words. Like my early stuff was I would basically interview people and turn their stories into plays. And I guess through the course of doing that, I don't like think it's better than than plays that are made up, but for me, like it was always just such an emotional experience having a true story be on stage, and I saw the impact that it had on audiences, and I just I guess I've always felt that like audiences listen in a slightly different way when it's a true story.
Mm,
Um, and I mean, what I love about theatre is its capacity to kind of make people live in someone else's shoes for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is.
mm,
And I think that when you know you're watching a real person, you know you're watching a real story, there's an extra kind of dimension to that. There's an extra power to it.
mm.
Um, so Outpatient's obviously my story, which I hadn't ever really intended early on to write about myself. That wasn't like the trajectory I was on. But I guess something then happened to me that I knew would make a good play, and that I kind of wanted. I guess I wanted. Don't know. Did I want to talk about it? Just sort of felt like I should talk about it. Definitely felt like I had something to say. Um, and yeah, it was amazing, kind of seeing people's reactions and meeting lots of people who'd gone through similar experiences, or yeah, experiences that it resonated with.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, for anyone who's not familiar, I mean, would you mind just telling a little bit about yourself, and specifically
Sure.
this part of your life where you were diagnosed with something quite severe. I mean, and yeah,
Yeah.
tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so well, in 2019, I was working on a play that was all about mortality. Like I said, I used to go and interview people and make plays from their words. I was working on a play for Soho Theatre called The Colours, which
Mm,
was made up of interviews with people in hospices and palliative care wards. So people who had a terminal diagnosis, and it was all me going and interviewing people about the fact they were going to die, basically. It was a little bit of a crazy thing for me to be
mm,
going to do. Um, but I was doing that because I sort of have always been very interested in death and why we don't talk about it. And uh, yeah. Um, and then like halfway through doing those interviews, I was diagnosed with this like very confusing disease that when I Googled it, so the person who diagnosed me sort of said, oh, don't Google it. Like, don't worry about it. It's probably not going to affect you. And then I Googled it and it said, like, people with this disease live on average 9 to 18 years after diagnosis. Um, so I was suddenly like confronted with the prospect of my own death, I guess. And, having thought that I was, really interested in death and like interested in talking about it, it turned out it was the absolute opposite. Like, I couldn't cope at all with the fact that this was happening to me. I think on some level, I sort of thought that I would never really die, like not me.
yeah.
And I like completely sort of imploded my life. Like I had a lot of great things going on in my life, but after this diagnosis, I just kind of steamrolled everything. And it like went on this whole journey that I never ever would have thought I would have gone on. So I guess in terms of what makes a good play and like having a character be confronted with something that takes them into a new world, I was like, well, okay, that's what happened to me. Um, and it took me like probably a couple of years to write about it. And I think I sort of knew that I needed a bit of time to like process what happened. But at the same time, I sort of thought the actual writing process would probably do some processing for me, and I might,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, realize some stuff along the way.
Mm.
Um, Yeah, and I think that is probably what happened.
Yeah, I mean, just from anyone who's not familiar, it's well, in the medical term, it's PSC, or how do you say it again?
Yeah,
Primary.
PSC, primary sclerosing cholangitis.
Yeah,
It's a liver disease um, that has, well, so it's really, really difficult to explain,
yeah, yeah.
and it works very differently for different people, manifests differently for different people. Um, Most people, I think, don't realize they have it, which is why these statistics on diagnosis are quite alarming because you could have it for like 20, 30 years and not realize you have it because
Mm.
there are no real symptoms sometimes. And this is kind of the case for me. I have a bit of a shoddy immune system, like I pick up lots of infections, but that's kind of it. Uh, yeah, but basically it's like an autoimmune disease or has an autoimmune component. Your body's kind of attacking itself. Um, and ultimately, usually at some point, it progresses quite quickly and your liver shuts down. And so, yeah, you that can become very dangerous very quickly and you need a liver transplant.
Oh,
Um, but and you're also kind of vulnerable to lots of different cancers. I mean, it's all pretty horrible. Um,
yeah.
and like I said, like just so strange because you don't you, it's not like you feel like something's even wrong, basically. So it's just a very strange like idea to live with.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, just hearing you say all that now, and then you want to put that into a play, and then which you have done, and then
Yeah.
you broadcast that to audiences across London and up and down the country. It's yeah. I mean, it's just. I mean, I take my hat off to you, Harriet. It's just the bravery that you have to share all that. I mean, it's quite something. And I did a little of like sort of research for today. So I read an interview you did for the Youngish Perspective, and of course another podcast you did with Jason Davidson on the Marie Curie couch, and
Yeah.
he talked about how theatre can. This is some quotes here. He said theatre can humanize these things, and it deepened my connection to what it means to be alive. Sort of like a
Mm.
wake up call to embrace every moment that you can. And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, tell me about. So not only just that, like, if I may, it's just like the diagnosis, but also like being in this play, and of course I must stress to people, it's a funny play as well. You do some like really wacky
Yeah.
stuff. There's karaoke, there's a treadmill in the middle of the stage, there's a big, is it Tesco or Sainsbury's bag? I can't remember, but it's like a
Tesco bag. Once I
Tesco.
brought a Sainsbury's bag instead, and the director was like, "No, no, it has to be a Tesco bag." I don't know why. But yeah,
No, no, but it's definitely got comedy in there as well, and it makes you sort of realize that it's just embracing every moment and just how unpredictable life can be, and just how sometimes it's funny, and in the next breath it's sad, and it's just like a big amalgamation of all this stuff. I mean, it touches on so many themes. Was that your intention when you were writing it?
yeah, I think so. And I think like as you can probably tell, I'm not even particularly coherent when I talk about the disease. I still feel like I don't understand the disease very well. And in a way, like that's not even really what it is about. I suppose it is obviously about this diagnosis and the impact that it had. But I guess like being diagnosed with this thing sent me on a journey that touched on things that I knew were really quite universal, which is like I think certainly for me and for lots of people, we're kind of living in this lie that like we all know that we'll die, but we don't actually really like think about what that means, and we don't really realize like quite how soon that is,
Mm,
like quite how incredibly kind of brief our lives are. Um, so I knew that there was a universal story in there about mortality, but also about yeah, like how you use the time in your finite life. Um, I think for me, what the whole thing became about was like, what's more important, like work and
mm,
ambition and kind of making an impact, or like living in the moment and valuing what you have and valuing the people around you. And I guess sort of realizing, it sounds very kind of cheesy, but sort of realizing that you are kind of enough and you're in the world and that's amazing rather than suddenly you need to go and do something really amazing before you die so that people remember you.
mhm,
Um, I think that kind of dichotomy is something that is hopefully quite universal, that question of like what's more important.
mhm.
Um, And so that's really kind of what Outpatient is mostly about, I guess. And yes, it is a comedy. I think it
Yeah,
had to be
it is
because
funny. It's funny.
otherwise it's just whoa, a bit much. But also like the whole experience as I lived through it, it wasn't funny as I was living it, but it was quite extreme and quite absurd. And those are the ingredients in comedy. And I think when I write, I often seek a kind of comic, well, I find, I guess, a comic lens on things.
Mm.
Um, but I'd never actually been allowed or allowed myself to really write from a comedic place before because I was always talking about quite serious things that were other people's real stories. Whereas for this, I was kind of like, it's my story. I can actually treat this material however I want.
Mm.
Um,
Wait,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and and I've spoken about this guy on many episodes, but you've seen Ricky Gervais?
Mm.
Yeah, and he talks about like how laughter is kind of a healing process, particularly in dark times or difficult times or something. Even if he tells a joke at completely the wrong time, and everyone else is going, "What on earth are you saying? You can't say that. You can't say that." But there's always one or
Yeah.
two. There's always one or two people just going. But it's always like a liberating experience in a way. And I think Tom Stoppard calls laughter the sound of comprehension. So we
Yeah.
laugh because we understand what's going on. We understand
Right.
and we can
Right.
relate to it. Yeah. But
And also, I think like life doesn't abide by the rules of genre, right? It's like,
definitely not.
say you have a terribly serious drama on the BBC, it's like often it just nothing will be very funny or no one will be very funny. Maybe there's the odd joke, but like, whereas I remember like, I guess working with all these real people, I started to see it differently. Like early on, I met this couple who I'm still close to, whose son was murdered, and their story was so sad and so powerful and so moving. But they themselves were hilarious. Like they were just a laugh a minute, like funny people.
Mm,
And so there was something incongruous about it. And I was like, yeah, that's life, isn't it? Like there's something true and exciting about that. So I guess I'm always interested to like mix tone with content because I think that can take you a bit closer to the mess that is real life.
yeah. I suppose like when you're writing comedy, because I speak from experience here, I can't write comedy because I'll just write something and I'd be like, that's not funny. That's not funny. And
Right.
you just never know what audiences are going to like. But but when you're writing something like this, when you're writing comedy, I mean,
Mm.
how do you approach that? I mean, do you write with a laugh in mind, or do you write from like a place of truth that you think people are going to relate to? Yeah, how do you do it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think I definitely did a bit of a like, I've never really written straight up comedy before, definitely not for theatre.
Yeah.
And I definitely did then, after I'd written it, sort of go back through it and maybe put more kind of jokes in. But I
Mm,
think it's mostly not about that. I think it's all in, I guess, comedy for me is all about like reversal of expectations. So it's like
mm,
one thing happens and then something just undercuts it that's completely surprising. And I think it wasn't massively conscious while I was writing it. I think that is maybe just what my brain did in this instance, fortunately, because it made the play much more palatable, as I said.
yeah, yeah. Because I must say, the character that you play, it's a one woman show, and you follow the character called Olive, who
Yeah.
is a aspiring journalist who gets hit by this like tidal wave of news, that being the diagnosis, and then basically just it's like a journey of like saying simultaneously saying like fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want to do, but there are some scenes which bring her back down to earth. And one scene in particular where we're on the comedy thing was when you were singing "I Will Survive" when Olive goes to the karaoke, and
Yeah.
it starts off she's enjoying it, and then obviously hopefully this isn't giving too much away, but then the truth seeps in, and then obviously and then she doesn't sing anymore. It's more like, and this is not a criticism of your singing, by the way, but this is more like she's just like goes, and then she suddenly realizes, oh shit, this is what's happening right now, and then all the comedy disappears. I mean, what was that moment like to play every night?
Um, it was quite fun. I
It's
don't
quite
know.
fun.
Yeah, I just felt so good about letting it all out on a stage that the stuff around the diagnosis, I think it was never that difficult to play. I think it's always obviously difficult, like switching modes. And I think this is a play that asks you to do that. So it is quite a demanding play. But I think the things that I found harder to play were around like my relationships and my family. And that was more heavy for me. That was more emotional and also just a bit more fraught because like it's not so the character isn't me, it's based on me, but
Mhm.
there's people in the play that are based on my partner, based on my parents. Um and yeah, like that for some reason, particularly when they were in the audience, that stuff always like uh was harder.
Mm. Yeah, it's and of course there's another angle as well, which I know you talked about in the Marie Curie interview as well. That unfortunately you had a friend who sadly passed in 2020, and I think you alluded to the fact that I've got the quotes here actually. Um, it's like you said you said things like some quite remarkable things. You said you didn't allow yourself to miss her, and you remembered her death by keeping her death alive just in conversation. You're keeping her alive in conversation and all that. So do you think like the first kind of seeds for, obviously, you haven't been through what you've been through personally, but you had this huge, this sad life. I mean, how did your friend pass, if you don't mind me asking?
She it was like uh she had psychosis, it was like
I see.
mental health crisis basically,
Mm.
and she actually died after I got this diagnosis,
I
like
see.
18 months after.
Hmm.
And I started writing it before she died. Um, I think yeah, I did. The process of writing it was quite long. And I think I hadn't really realized how much her death was in it. And actually that was the main thing that hit me during the park run. Like some people who knew her came to see it, and for some reason when they came I couldn't stop crying. I was like crying all day.
Mm.
um yeah, I guess because the play is about the fact that God, life is short, we don't know how long we have. And but even while I was going through this and even while I was writing it, I never had assumed that would be her. um yeah, and her death is still, it's like it's so hard to talk about, it's so hard to live with. It's much more of a kind of live, upsetting thing for me than the diagnosis. Um, I suppose because with the diagnosis, I still don't know how it's going to pan out, so I can kind of adopt this attitude of being like, well, hopefully it'll be okay, and if it isn't, we'll kind of deal with that when it comes to it. Whereas with my friend's death, it's so painful, yeah, not to have her around.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Well, first of all, I'm sorry that you had that experience, and your friend, is it Caitlin was her name, wasn't it? Yeah, and just Caitlin, wherever you are, God bless you, and hope you're okay. Um, do you think that was I get like an image. Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing there, but I get an image of like her sort of. Do you think she helped you in some ways? I'm going a bit spiritual now, but do you think like she was helping, like sort of communicating some messages to you like into the script from the other side, or there was a part of you through missing her in this life that helped
Yeah.
you sort of craft Olive's story, do you think?
I think not consciously, but I think yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I realized that like really late. I think that the main character had elements of me, but it also had elements of her in it, which
Yeah,
I didn't realize until some of her friends came to see it and they were like, "That's also her, right?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess so."
yeah.
Um, yeah,
It's also how we act, like with to think these things come through in our personalities one way or another, don't they? Like we act unconsciously, and then some, like you said there, someone will go, "Oh yeah, they did that, didn't they?"
Yeah,
And you're like,
it's
going,
so weird how
"Did they? Oh yeah, they
unconscious
did."
causes rule our
Yeah,
lives.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like on one hand, that must be like a real gift to have as like as a writer as well, because you're able to kind of like, again, the spiritual end, to kind of tap into the energy that's around you. And of course, Caitlin, I'm presuming you guys were very, very close, but you know, how you guys were able to just to create a story that, you know, so many people can relate to in some ways, you know. I mean, just going back to what I said earlier, I mean, what kind of stories did you hear from audiences? You know, like your friends aside, did anyone else come up to you and say, I've got a friend who had a similar experience? Or, yeah, what kind of things did you hear?
Yeah. I met quite a lot of people who have PSC because
Okay.
the national charity of PSC kind of kindly got involved and kind of put the word out.
Hmm.
And that was really interesting and kind of inspiring and in some ways quite confronting because a lot of the people I met had had much more advanced disease than me. And I guess it gave me a bit of a reality check on like, okay, you know, it is quite likely that, you know, someday soon I'm going to deal with something quite difficult. It was a really like amazing hearing from people who have the disease, but also people who have chronic illnesses in general or um, terminal diagnoses, or yeah, just people dealing with difficult medical stuff. A few people sort of said that the play helped them feel less alone,
Hmm.
um, and that it just really resonated with their experience. And I think that was when I got a message like that, that was like so much better than getting a good review.
Mm.
Um, it was amazing, and it made it all kind of worth it
Yeah, because you're getting real
for sure.
real
Um,
responses from real people. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the character in the play is in lots of ways quite ugly. Like she says some quite ugly things,
Mm.
and I think I wanted to like challenge this notion that if somebody has a diagnosis, they're suddenly this sort of either this like amazing fighter or this sort of angelic, sort of frail, whatever. Like they're suddenly this somehow great person, or is actually like being confronted with this. It's horrific, and it can bring out like the ugliest side of you. And so yeah, I just wanted to put something out that was just a bit honest about that.
Mm.
And I think maybe that is the kind of thing that meant that people were sort of saying, like, thank you for saying this. Like, I was having these thoughts, I was doing these things, and I sort of thought it was just me. But no, it's because you're facing something that is so hard to face and that no one really talks about and that no one really prepares you for.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it touches on so many things and so many different. But essentially, you know, just live for one of the many things it says is live for each moment and just enjoy the ride. You know, it's, you know, life is like this, but we always find the joy one way or another.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
think
it.
there's also something in it that's like, uh, because for me, when I got the diagnosis, I thought that like the best way to maximize my limited time was to go and like do loads of new stuff and like meet new people and like make big impacts sort of wherever I could, like scatter my you know, like a cat like pissing all over the place. Being like I was here.
Yeah,
But through the course of doing that, I was actually kind of running away from like everything that I already had.
yeah,
And so I think there's a big like a message in there around like value what you have, like not stop striving, but I think in our culture we're obsessed with progress and success and achievement, and I think it really stops us being able to just like slow down and be like,
mm,
this is this is my life, I'm here.
yeah.
um, which is not to say that everyone's having a good time in their life. I'm not trying to like minimize people who are in terrible
No,
situations.
no,
For
not at
me, it's
all,
like
not at all.
life was really quite good, and I sort of forgot that when I got this diagnosis.
Yeah, it just reminds us, you know, I think we've all had that experience that we're actually, like you say, you know, there are some people out there who, you know, just like wherever you are, it's just like some people like us, you know, we're we're luckier than we think. And
Yeah.
yeah, we're so much more luckier than we think. And you know, if anyone going through like tough times or everything, like similar to what you've been through, your character, everything else, you know, just know that there's always support there, and you know, it does always get better, and know that you're never alone in anything, and just, you know, there's always someone who cares for you, and there's always help, which is, again, not just saying that just for the hell of it, but it's another thing that this play raises as well, because the character's got a very strong relationship with her partner and everything, and that there's hopefully this isn't too much of a spoiler, but we get to see some pictures of the two of them on like the big days, and like some selfies being taken, all that stuff, to show that there's a real community between the two. And she's mentioned a lot in the play as well, the girlfriend as well. And but obviously we won't go too much into that because we want people to go and see the show. But I suppose really now, because we were talking before we came on, is that you wanted to have a bit of a break because you've been with this play like full on for about a year now. So
Yeah.
do you think you'll bring it back next year or later this year? Is there a
I
plan?
definitely want to do it again. I feel like it's a play that yeah, like lives in me,
Of
and there's
course.
just something about doing it that feels so right. Um, so it's not even that I'm kind of sick of the play itself. It's more, you know, I mean, the whole play is about
Yeah.
not chasing success and achievement. And then I guess it was quite like ironic that I did the play and it did really well, and everyone was sort of applauding me when it was all about not chasing that.
Mm.
So yeah, there was definitely like a bit of an irony in the whole thing because also I just had a baby. Like my partner was then having to do more of the childcare. Like I'm now basically trying to redress that balance a little bit, be around a little bit more, slow down a little bit, like I was saying.
Mm.
Um, which isn't to say I'm stopping working on things creatively, but I think yeah, I
No.
want to take things out of being performed for a while and just develop some stuff.
Mm.
Um, and like yeah, sleep.
Yeah. Do you think so a question came into my head there. So the treadmill, what was the creative thinking behind the treadmill exactly?
Um, well. There is creative thinking behind it, but I think it actually started with me thinking, "Ooh, I've got this, I've got this treadmill, and we don't need money." And yeah, no, but there is. So I think, like I said, the character Olive gets diagnosed with this disease and then is obsessed with forward movement. She's like, I must go further, I must go faster, I must progress, and so there was something that felt right about having this machine in the middle of the stage that was like, you know, work harder, be better, but also like run away. Like she's running away
Mm.
from help. Like she wants to feel powerful, so she doesn't want to accept help. Um, because I guess if you accept help, you feel vulnerable. And so yeah, she's standing on stage like an athlete and like running and training for the marathon and like doing all of this slightly showy stuff. And that's her defense, I guess, against what's going on.
Yeah, it's like a combination of like wanting to drive forward, yet wanting to run away. Like you said, at the same time, it's like we want to live our life the best way we can, but I'm also
Yeah.
trying to get away from this as
Yeah, and I
well.
think
You
those
know?
two things aren't they're connected, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Living our life in the best way we can is also like
yeah.
keep moving, what's ahead, like so that I don't have to necessarily look at what's
Look back, but it's always,
behind.
yeah. Sadly for her, it's always like lingering just there. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's an interesting idea, and yeah, I suppose like really now, actually, before we get into like the how you created the play and stuff, and just taking a break from like the big questions which this thing really offers. I suppose like the next question being now, I mean, is how are you? How are you right now?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Good.
Um, I'm like I never know how to answer that really. I mean, in terms of like my health on a literal level, everything's fine. Nothing's like progressed. Um, and I have to go for all sorts of checkups. And I guess my way of dealing with that is just to be like, well, I think it will be fine. And then it has been. Yeah, like I'm very tired. I'm like really like tired in all sorts of ways, I think. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I
No,
feel
no,
like
no.
I need to slow down a bit and like I'm on the edge of slightly sort of burning out. And I still don't know, like when it comes to the disease, like I said, I still don't massively know. I've written this whole play, but I still don't really know how to talk about it or how to kind of deal with it, other than to be like that I've got that and hopefully nothing terrible will happen and, you know, accept the help, accept that having this is a cause for concern for other people. I think it definitely like looms quite large in my life and in my relationship, and
Mm,
it's a scary thing to live with. But I don't consciously like sort of suffer with it mentally or physically. It's very weird.
mm.
I think it's probably still got quite a lot of repressed terror around it, to be honest. But like unconscious, like I can't actually
Yeah,
feel that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Well,
And that sounds really dark, but I mean, I'm also, I hope
yeah.
this doesn't sound glib, but I'm also in a way like grateful for it. I think it like
Really?
sharpens your focus. It's meant I've gone on this whole kind of journey of seeing things a bit differently, growing up a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Good.
bit of a
Well,
long answer to how are you, but
yeah.
yeah,
No, 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 no.
quite good.
No, bring it all, mate. Bring it all. Yeah. No, it's well, that's good to hear. And ultimately, we want. I'm sure everyone's listening to this wants to know how you're doing, and it's great to hear that you've got that you're good. You're
Yeah,
you're all right.
I feel
Very
like this,
okay.
like life just gets a bit richer and more complicated as you get older, right? And it's like this is a bit extra, of an extra
Mm.
ingredient in that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of living amongst that, and I'm pretty good.
Good. Well, hallelujah to that. And so I suppose really like the sort of next part of today really is about just how did you write this? Like, well, what's your process as a writer specifically on Outpatient?
Yeah, it was pretty different on Outpatient to anything I've done before because there was nothing, ironically, nothing real in it in a way, and that I was just actually literally writing it. There wasn't any like testimony or whatever.
Sure.
How did I write it? I think I wrote it. I always write. I'll kind of agonize for ages, and then I'll write and I'll structure it. I think I did like a basic kind of 5 act structure thing or whatever, and loosely kind of mapped out the plot. Um, and then I wrote it extremely quickly, probably, yeah, within a week.
Mm.
Um, and then I sort of thought, oh God, no. And I put it in a drawer and left the room for like over a year, I think. Uh, and then I came back to it because I thought maybe it was brilliant, and it wasn't. It was rubbish. But when I came back to it, I did sort of think,
First drafts, first drafts.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think lots of the events were kind of mapped out. I kind of knew what I wanted to say, and that was kind of in it. But I think in a way, like the most important thing about the show is the tone.
Mhm.
I think the tone is really hard to crack because it is funny, but it's also serious. So that was what was missing, basically. So it just didn't really work. And then I guess I did another draft. I got a grant from the Peggy Ramsey Foundation, who are amazing.
Mhm.
Um, I got a grant to do another draft, and that was more of a serious process of like, yeah, working most days for a month or so and just get working on getting it right. Um, but still, that was a process of writing pretty quickly and then rewriting, rewriting, rewriting. It's like all in the editing, I think.
Mhm. Yeah,
You've
it's
got to be in a state of like flow, but then you've got to
yeah.
check what's working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, and one thing I've learned because I'm writing something at the moment is that you can't write and edit at the same time.
No.
You can't. You
Very
literally
good.
just have to get it all out and then go through it line by line, and you realize, oh, yes, I said and twice there, or that comma's in the wrong place, blah, blah, blah. But you do all that later, or that line doesn't make any sense. Why did I just get rid of it then? It's fine. But it's just get it all out on paper first, or,
Yeah.
or on Word or whatever it is that you use,
Yeah.
and then go
And I
back
think
and
also
edit
like
later.
because I write really quickly, like it was always a really bad idea for me to do a day of writing, a half day of writing, if I was not in the right headspace for it, because then
Mhm.
I would literally just ruin the script.
Yeah,
I would loads, and it wouldn't be very good. And then that was the whole thing. I think that happened a couple of times. I like lost the previous version, and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, it's like picking your moment. Well, for me, it's picking my moment where I feel, yeah, in the right zone to do it. And then a lot of things can happen quite quickly.
yeah.
Um, but it can take quite a long time, I guess, to be in the right headspace.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I've taken breaks from stuff, and I think some people think that, oh, when you write something, I remember when I was a bit younger, I used to think that people who wrote plays or books, they would just literally sit down at a desk, open their laptop, write it all out in one go, and that was it. They never
Yeah.
made any corrections, never did anything else, and of
Oh my
course,
God, no.
nothing could be further from the truth. But
Yeah, God. And that's the
yeah,
fallacy of like genius, I think. I think it's a load of bollocks. I think it's just a lot of like work and also getting over that hump of thinking it's going to be rubbish and being
mm,
self-conscious about it.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I tell you what, I take my hat off to novelists, people who write books that
That's
are like that thick,
yeah.
and
That
you open the
yeah.
pages and there's just like it's just words, and all you see, like, and think like this has been planned and written out and edited, and you just think, wow, yeah, I take my hat off to those people who can just write books like that thick, both
So I
academic
don't really
and
understand how people write novel. I don't feel like I understand very little about it. I think it's a very different
yeah.
thing to explain.
Oh, very, very differently. Very, very differently. Yeah. I think Susie Miller talked about because she wrote the one woman show Prima Facie with
Yeah,
Jodie Comer, and
amazing.
she yeah. Did you see it at all?
I read it. Yeah.
You read it, yeah, yeah. And then she adapted it into a novel. And I remember seeing her at an live podcast recording actually, and she
Mhm.
talked about how she was like, I mean, the play. She loved writing the play, but it's like, but there's so many things that got cut out.
Yeah.
Changing this one little line here. You don't need all this big description. Yeah, but I love that bit. No, I'm sorry, it's got to go. It's got to go.
Yeah.
You have to kill your darlings, as they say in the theatre. And
Yeah. You got
but
to keep
she's
it moving as well. It's got to be all kind of action,
yeah.
right? Not
Exactly. Yeah, got to keep going, keep going, keep going. But she talked about how when she wrote the novel, she was like, "This is amazing. I could go into as much detail as I wanted. I could have extra characters. I didn't have to all the stuff that was taken out. I could throw back in. Because I think you've got more freedom to just tell as long a story as you want. But
yeah.
theatre, yeah. But no, that's an interesting point you say there about just keeping the energy, the drive going. So what did you mean by that? Why has the character got to keep moving? Exactly. How did you achieve that?
Um, I just think in drama, like it's there's got to be constant motion and constant conflict. I guess that's the difference in my mind. Like, um, yeah, and that doesn't mean that like a character needs to be like you can have a play about someone who just sits on the sofa all day, but it's like something I don't know if that would be a very good play, but like I think yeah, everything that happens needs to move the story on, basically, somehow. Or every scene needs to,
Mm.
or every line of dialogue needs to. Really, it's like there's no kind of luxuriating or languish. At least for me, like I'm not a massively poetic writer. I think there are like Tennessee Williams, for example, that's he spends a bit more time. But at the same
Oof.
time, like I
Okay.
love Tennessee Williams, but I'd probably rather it was a bit for me, like I'm quite an impatient person. So I want to continue to move.
Yeah.
And that's how I definitely how I write drama. And so yeah, I probably wouldn't be a very good novelist. I'd probably write a very short novel.
Yeah, a little short story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, don't worry, I love Tennessee Williams. I've watched they re-released Streetcar Named Desire recently with Gillian Anderson playing Blanche and everything. Oh, just
Yeah.
incredible, incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to see Paul Mescal do it in London earlier this year and everything. Again, just an amazing production.
Yeah.
And Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night. But like you say, it's like those two. I mean, they're fantastic writers. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
there's
I
a
mean, I
lot
think
there.
they can get away with it basically, but I don't think I can. And I don't think I want to. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's not my thing.
Yeah, I mean, but don't get me wrong. I mean, Long Day's Journey was some of the best dialogue I've ever heard in my life. But
Yeah.
after 3.5 hours, you're like, okay, come on, guys, I want to go home now. But
Yeah, I guess it was maybe written for a world with different attention spans, right?
oh yeah, no, I mean, I think the phones and everything, just destroyed all
Yeah.
that really. But anyway, let's not put that out there, and let's not get into that detail. But yeah, I just what time? How much time have we got? Okay, we've got time. So in terms of like your creative team, one thing I had for today was like finding like you seem to have like a real core of your creative team that's been with you since. Am I right in thinking that the core that you had for the park run were there for you when you did Edinburgh and when you did all the other festivals as well? Would that be correct?
Yeah.
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 How did you find them and what made you click with them?
The director, Maddie, I worked with on a show called Edith in 2023, and we just really like got along, and it felt really easy and really kind of dynamic and exciting, but it just like smooth.
Mhm.
Um, and so I knew, she's great at like, um, I guess the mix of like comedy and tragedy and like, yeah, women-driven stories. I knew she'd be great for it. And then I think it was actually Maddie that perhaps suggested Bella, who's an amazing sound designer who also did Edith. Um, Mark, the producer I run the theatre company with. So yeah, we've been working together for over 10 years now. Um, and Megan, the lighting designer, also came through Maddie. So actually, Maddie was like a great person to meet because she just knows good creatives that trust her. And so I kind of benefited from that, I guess. And then we had this amazing like trio of stage managers who all at different times like stepped into the lead on the
Mm.
project. Like the park run, in a way, came about quite quickly, and I thought we were gonna have to get someone new, but instead, like the three of them who'd worked on it before, like found a way to make it work. So it was so nice. It was like it's quite a small team, obviously, but have I forgotten someone? I'm worried I have suddenly. Oh God, I probably have. But anyway, no, I don't think I have. It was so nice to have that always be the same group of people who really kind
Yeah.
of got the show and made the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, who was it? Was it one of the stage managers or producers? I think they gave an interview with that when he went to the park. They made like a series of like behind the scenes videos and
I
stuff.
made
Oh, you
those.
made those, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
was it one of them? I can't. I think it was. I think was it Will? One of them. Is this Will? One of them Will? I probably made that up. Anyway, well, one of the guys in the group said they're basically watching because you had an exercise ball on stage with you
Yeah.
as well, didn't you? And they were thinking like, God, we've got to keep an eye on Harry, make sure she doesn't fall off the treadmill or
Oh,
slip off
Mark, yeah.
the exercise ball or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just to talk like stage manager sort of advocate now. It's just they're probably watching you like a hawk every night to make sure that, oh my God, please don't
Yeah.
slip off that treadmill. Please don't slip across that ball because like
Yeah.
we want to make sure
I
you're
nearly
okay.
fell off so many times.
Did you?
Um, I can't believe I never fully fell off. It was honestly so many times that it was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Um,
You're like, wait, hang on a minute. Yeah.
yeah, which would have just been awful. Like, we've already got a show about like, oh, my true story of vulnerability, and then suddenly you've just stacked it on stage in front of an audience. Yeah, I think I never really allowed myself to think that that was a possibility falling off because then it probably would have happened. But yeah, I think Mark thought the idea of me falling off would have been quite funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just watching you every night. Okay, is she going to do it that bit there? Okay, all right, we're
Yeah.
good, we're good. But anyway, touch wood, that doesn't happen again. So, well,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen at all. Sorry, but
Yeah,
that
the role of the stage manager in the show is really like complex and hardcore. Like they're
yeah,
operating the show, obviously, but they're also delivering all these other lines. And it's like hundreds and hundreds of sound cues, which are dialogue. They're basically performing the show with me.
mm,
Um, and I was always so impressed by how they managed to do that. Just as in slip in quickly and just do it. Like it was amazing.
yeah, they did. I mean, it's a group effort. It might have been just yourself on
Yeah.
stage, but it really was a group effort of everyone just
Yeah.
looking out for each other at the end. Obviously, yeah, big shout out to your sound guy as well. He made some really, really good, some good stuff that night. Yeah,
Yeah, the sound designer.
sound designer. Yeah.
Yeah, Bella, she's brilliant.
Yeah, or
Totally.
Bella, sorry, sound
Yeah.
girl. But
Sound guy, sound girl. Yeah.
yeah, one of the two. It's great. So yeah, it's like, and I think when you have that, because I think another big aspect of a show is like once you've got a really good supportive network around you, you've got that creative team, that must make the experience. I mean, especially for a play like this, it makes you feel like really, really safe and really just like know that if anything that could go wrong. It doesn't matter. We've got you. We've got you support.
Yeah.
I mean, was that a key element in keeping this group together?
Yeah, it was. And I really did feel like that, which was so nice. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily always the experience in theatre, and that's why it's so important to find people that you like, I think. Um, yeah, I felt really well supported. I mean, it was hard, like particularly for the park. I was doing quite a lot of like the producing myself, so at times I did feel quite like exhausted, but I never felt like alone, I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
because
for sure.
all of
Yeah,
the team were supportive and present, and yeah.
yeah. Ultimately, that's what you want. It's just to know that you've got people have got your back and everything more than anything, which is good. Yeah, I'm just thinking about so like what's because you've done outpatient, you've been touring around the country for a year now and everything, and so I suppose really just the next bit really is what's next for you other than looking after your little one and resting.
Yeah, well that that's the thing. I'm working on a couple of projects at the moment. I've got like a couple of things in development for television,
Hmm.
which is obviously a bit of a different world. Again, comedy stuff. I guess things that intersect comedy and crime, so slightly different.
Mm.
Um, and then I've got a couple of theatre projects coming up later this year and early next year. But because that's in a while, it is really nice. I do feel like I can like slightly, yeah, slow down a little bit,
Mm.
which I think this is the first time in my life that I've actually really wanted to slow down. Um, yeah. I'm also training on the side to be a psychotherapist, which
Hey.
is a bit of a rogue move, but one that I'm really excited about and enjoying. And so that's also taking up quite a lot of time.
Mhm.
My plan isn't to kind of move into doing that full time or anything like that, but I think it's absolutely fascinating doing that training. And so that's taking up quite a lot of time. I'm looking after my daughter a day and a half a week. And yeah, basically it's all a bit of a juggle. And I'm okay with that for now. I don't think I need to take a little while before allowing my life to be taken over by like one creative project. I think there's something so wonderful about that to
Mm.
just throw yourself into the world of one project.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure.
yeah, but I think I want to wait a little while before doing that. There are things I want to write about that are maybe more sorry, my throat, more in the kind of personal
That's okay.
sphere. I don't know quite how to go about it yet, but things around motherhood, things around fertility,
Sure.
relating to other things I've been kind of going through. But
Yeah.
I haven't started yet, and I don't want it to.
Yeah. So I just put them on the back burner for now, and I think like one. I don't know if you've had this experience, but you have an idea for something, and then you think, oh yeah, sure. Then you put it away for a bit, like somewhere, like a dusty file in your brain somewhere,
Yeah.
and then years later, like as more experiences come about, and then you and suddenly go, oh yeah, I've been thinking about. Excuse me, I've been thinking about this for about 4 or 5 years, and then next thing you know, it's like suddenly here's all the information you'll ever need for it as well. So, you never know when those ideas will just go and just
Yeah.
sprout in, I mean, because as writers, I think that must be a really, really big thing. You must have like 3 or 4 ideas just roaming around, and then one of them can just go bang just at any moment. And you go, right, I'm going with this. I'm going to start writing about this now. So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I remember, can't remember who said this, but like the idea that if something has been percolating for that long, then you should write about it.
oh,
Like if
that's a
you've been
sign. Yeah.
continuing to kind of chew on it for
Yeah.
maybe like what, 2, 3 years, that means it's a good idea. Whereas, yeah, I have loads of ideas that then the next day I've forgotten about. So they probably weren't ideas I should have pursued.
Yeah. Do you have like so I don't know if you do this, but you have your notes app on your phone, and you just I mean, even if it's I've got a folder in there called random quotes from random people, or just for anything.
Yeah,
You get
I've
an
got that as
idea,
well.
just write it down. Just write. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is, even if it's just one line you hear. I heard a lady walk past me in Guildford once, just go, "Who doesn't like a twinkly light in the garden?" I thought I don't know how that's going to fit into anything, but it just sounds good. It
Yeah.
just sounds good. Something
Yeah.
utterly middle class, but I was just like, who knows? Who knows? One
Yeah. And
could
and
be up.
then I always find it's amazing how many things can like combine into one show. I mean, like with Outpatient, there was so many seeds of other things and like also other situations that weren't related to this period of my life. that all got kind of folded into it. And yeah, there's like this Virginia Woolf quote. I'm going to sound so pretentious, but she sort of
No, not
says, I think it was when she was maybe writing The Waves, I can't remember. But she said, I feel like I've used up everything I've ever thought. And I think with this play, it was a bit of that. I just like, threw all sorts of things into it. And I think
yeah.
that's partly why I'm a bit like, writing it was such a thing, doing it was such a thing. And now I'm like, okay, wait and see what comes, and don't like run at things for the sake of it. Like
Mm.
reap not the rewards, the lessons of the play, I guess.
Yeah, just keep the because as a great man once said, all the world's a stage, and the men and women are merely players, and etc. But
Yeah.
just yeah, it's like you walk around, and I've done a previous episode with a writer called Sarah Page, and I think I asked her at one point, like, you must walk around the world just seeing things and hearing things, and you just think, or from your own life, or just walking through Regent's Park in London, or through Central Park in NYC or something, and you just hear something and you see something and you go,
You're a vulture.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that's really good. Yeah. Or like I have the thing about movement directors who walk through like again Regent's Park, or go on the tube, and they just see someone like doing something with their hands, or like a
Mm.
gesture or something, and they go, oh, that's really interesting. How are they doing that? And
Yeah.
it just you
I think,
weave it into their practice somehow. Yeah.
yeah. I think for me, funnily enough, like I go through phases where I'm very like that, and I feel I can have like 100 ideas a day, and I just feel inspired almost by, not by everything, but like, yeah, I just see that all around me. And at the moment, I'm not really doing that. Like I guess I am. I'm like, oh, that would be good. That would be good.
You always will be. You always will be.
But I'm not. I guess the difference is I'm not writing it down at the moment. I'm really trying to like pause on that, and I'm wondering what the effect of that will be. It
Yeah.
might be that actually I then like run out of ideas and I need to just switch up my way of operating again. But something in me feels like a period of like mental rest is necessary, because I've never actually done that before in my entire
Oh
life.
yeah, of course. Yeah, rest. I mean, it's just something we talked about quite a bit today, which was just, like the reflection of Olive in a way, like she wants to push forward, push forward, push forward, but always remember to rest as well.
Yeah.
We're not robots, even in
No.
time of
I guess like also like by rest I don't mean like
yeah,
literally lying on the sofa watching telly. I mean that would be amazing, but I mostly mean like spending time with my daughter and my
yeah,
partner, and like just rest in terms of living like living to God, what is it? Working to live rather than living to work for a little bit.
yes, yeah,
What
absolutely.
that's like. Yeah.
One of the two. Yeah. Hey, your notes app is your friend, Harriet. Make sure
Oh,
you
I know. I will go back.
write stuff down, man. Even if you don't know how it's going to be helpful, you know this anyway. But even if you don't know how it's going to be helpful, who knows? It
Yeah.
might come in handy one day. Or make a good story at a dinner party. I don't know, but
Yeah.
write it
Yeah.
down. Write
Oh,
it
I'm
down.
having a break. I'm having a little break.
Okay, yeah.
Just for
After
a
the
few
break.
weeks
Yeah,
after the break.
after the break,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, people prioritize this and this first,
Yeah.
and it's all good from there.
Yeah.
Harry, I've only just got two more questions left for you today. But first of all, just thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I know you've got a really busy time at the moment with a newborn and just finishing the play at the park and everything. So times are a bit crazy for you. So I thank you for your time today. Means a lot. So thank you. So yeah, first of the two last questions is, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard at the beginning of your career?
Oh, bit of advice. I guess I've kind of like touched on it already. I think the whole problem, not the whole problem at all. The industry is really difficult, but I think a huge problem um, with the creative life is fear. Fear that what you make won't be good enough. And I guess I just wish someone had, I think I wasted quite a lot of time being in a state of fear, I think.
Mm.
Um, and so I guess I would advise people to realize that everyone has fear, push through the fear barrier, write something, and also realize that the thing you wrote almost certainly will not be very good. And then that's fine. That's the same for almost everyone.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, really put in the work on rewriting it, because that's when it gets good. Um, And if you're like watching and reading good things and you feel inspired and you're kind of in it, then it'll get there. And it's a wonderfully like fulfilling thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And absolutely, if it's the first thing you write, if it doesn't flow off the page yet, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine. I look back to my first drafts of stuff and I think, what the hell is this? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But bizarrely, just that being said, sometimes you go to the first draft and you look at the final draft, whenever that may be, and then
Mm.
there are some little bits from that first draft which do make it into
Yeah.
the final draft. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes people go, no, 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 I'm completely changing everything. But sometimes, what you write in the beginning, you think, oh, I'm not sure about that, but actually that made it into the final draft, so it was good
Yeah,
enough from day one.
for
So
sure.
there is good stuff in there. We just need to work around it and just make the most of it, and then
Yeah. I think
stuff.
there's also something massively to be said about like stress testing stuff. Like
Mm,
the first things that I ever wrote, I think I wrote them quite quickly and then I sort of thought, oh God, that's either awful or
mm.
amazing. And then I think I just sort of sent it off and like applied for a few things and did get them and did not get them. And the reality is like it wasn't awful, but it definitely wasn't amazing. Like it was like you spent 10 minutes writing it. Do you know what I mean? So really it's all in the rewriting and it's all about kind of getting people together to read it out loud and making it better.
Yeah,
And then maybe you'll get somewhere where it's really great.
exactly.
But you do have to put work in. Like
Yeah,
the
no, there's no
genius thing is
there's no substitute for hard work, unfortunately. It's not handed to us. We have to really work on it and really practice. So, but hey, like we said earlier, it's the journey, not the destination. So more than anything, just enjoy it, and more than anything. So
enjoy the process of writing, exactly. I mean, I think if it's all feeling really hideous and hellish, then yeah, that's it's not going to even be worth it if you end up having success with the things that you write if you hate writing.
yeah, it's again, it's all part of it. And like when you look back on that draft, which was successful, and I feel like you look at Outpatient now, and you must think, wow, I'm proud of that.
The thing that I've now written, the end product, you mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Where it is now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it is amazing having it be published and having it kind of live um live on, I guess, in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, it's live. It's live now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's meaningful to me. I think, and I've had that experience on a few projects where I think I've just arrived with something that I'm like, yes, I think that was it. That's what I wanted. That's what I sort of envisaged. Doesn't always work out that way, but I think sometimes it does, and when it does, it's really amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And finally today, what would you say it was an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll
Mhm.
never ever forget?
Oh wow. Hmm. There's been a few. I think I've done a lot of work in prisons, and I've performed quite a few of my shows in prisons. Um, and that is probably those are probably the most powerful experiences I've had, I think. Um, yeah, that's just what immediately jumped to mind when you said, "What will I not forget?"
Mm.
And I think yes, it's that. It's being. It's difficult to like articulate it, but yeah, performing a show about restorative justice in a high security prison and having an extremely kind of like a discussion afterwards that felt like it was teaching me something, but also that it was like reaching across some kind of divide. That doesn't sound too kind of what's the word? Cringe or off color. But yeah, I think through theatre the way that I make theatre, you go into all sorts of communities that you never would have been able to access otherwise. You have conversations that surprise you, your kind of worldview shifts, and you're able to like share your work and the real people's stories, your story or other real people's stories with people and talk about them. I think probably the most exciting thing about doing that work in prisons was the discussions we had afterwards. Um, and with Crowded Room with the theatre company, that's what we always try and incorporate a lot of, is like you do the play, which is usually about something quite taboo or explosive, and then you talk. You take the energy that theatre gives you to foster communication, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's always interesting how you can take any subject and yet there's always a relatability. There's always someone with another story. It's like we're talking about today, you're never alone in these things. And just very quickly before you go, performing in prisons, what was that like?
Well, different depending on the prison and depending on the play. There's moments where it's not worked very well, but there's been much more moments where it's been uh yeah, really it's difficult to kind of know how to talk about it. Um, Amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Uh Moving, difficult, like upsetting,
Mm,
um, humbling, all of those things.
yeah.
It's a very extreme environment. It's not an environment that I like am in and live in, obviously. And so it is an unforgettable kind of experience.
Mm. Oh, for sure. I mean, I definitely remember
The
that.
one that makes me come out and look at my life differently, and makes me feel grateful for my freedom amongst other things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, we're luckier than we think, like we said earlier. And
Exactly.
exactly more than anything. It's brilliant.
Mm.
Harriet, thank you so much. This has been a really, really insightful and just conversation about everything. And just another, again, I've just thank you for being so open with me and being so generous with you sharing so much about yourself and your diagnosis and everything and your journey to where you are now and talking about the play in no holds barred way. And I really appreciate you doing that. And again, I take my hat off to you and your journey to where you are now. And I wish you nothing but the best and good health and good happiness and everything. And I'm sure our paths will cross again at some point. We'll work together maybe one day. And
Yeah.
I'd love to work with you, writing, acting, and anything in between. And it's been a real privilege to speak to you today about this. And so, just thank you very 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 much for your time and everything. And so if you finish, if you just hang on, I'll finish the recording. We'll have a tiny debrief, then you can shoot off to your little one, and then get back to normality. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very very soon. And Harriet, once again, just thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate your curiosity and your great questions, and it's just been a really nice experience. So thank you.
Oh, bless you. Right, until next time.